Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. Greetings from Covenant University, Nigeria. I'm Patience Tunji-Olayeni of the Department of Building at Covenant University in Nigeria. I'll be chairing this session on urbanization challenges. And in this session, we also have 3 presentations. But before we call up the presenters, I'll just be here to set the stage for the session and to put the session in context. Also, I would like to remind our presenters that they have 20 minutes, while the remaining 10 minutes will be used for questions and answers. Next slide, please. Can I have the next slide? Yeah, we all know that urbanization is the increase in the number of people in the urban centers as a result of influx of people from the rural areas to the urban areas, which ultimately increase the urban population and also increase the number of urban centers. And urbanization is one of the most significant drivers of economic growth. But a poorly managed urbanization process leads to many daunting challenges, particularly in developing countries. Next slide. And these challenges include, but they are not limited to, urban sprawl, urban poverty, high unemployment rates, high cost of living, high crime rates, housing inadequacy, housing unaffordability, and even environmental degradation. But of all of these challenges highlighted, one of the most pressing of these challenges is housing inadequacy. It is a global problem and it is occurring simultaneously across many cities in the world. For instance, in the US, they will need about 2.5 million houses to meet their housing deficit. In the UK, they will need about 300,000 houses every year if they must meet the housing demand. In Hong Kong, they will need about 280,000 public houses by 2027. For Egypt, they require about 500,000 houses every year to meet their housing shortfall. For Ghana, it is about 100,000 houses annually required, while Nigeria needs a whopping 20 million houses to cover its housing shortfall. Now, how do we solve this housing challenge, this global housing challenge? Of course, we'll need a huge financial base and requisite skills. Also, there has to be a rethinking from conventional construction processes and the adoption of innovative and sustainable construction approaches, such as industrialized housing construction. Why is industrialized housing construction important? It's important because it improves safety, it increases resilience, it enhances skills, it reduces waste both in time and in materials, and it improves the overall environmental performance of the process. In a short while, we'll be listening to a paper by Ferhiwot Keda. She's a PhD student of innovative and industrial construction at ETH Zurich in Switzerland. Her research focus is on resource efficiency performance and opportunities of industrialized construction materials and methods. She has also led a technical report on sustainable transition to industrialized housing construction in developing economies. She will be speaking to us shortly from the background of her research experience in Africa. Next slide. In using industrialized housing to solve the housing challenge, there has to be a consideration for the environmental effects of construction process, in particular buildings. Some of these negative effects of the construction process is the accumulation of large tons of waste, that are accumulated on landfills. And these landfills, they deface the environment. They also release toxins. But one of the most subtle yet devastating effect of construction process is the emission of greenhouse gases, which triggers climate change. And so there has to be a thinking of how to solve this, how to reduce these greenhouse gases. And we know that these greenhouse gases, they come from two sources in the construction process. Many of them come from operating energy, and the other come from embodied energy in building materials. And as far as the energy from operating energy, the emissions from operating energy is concerned, we have seen some form of decrease because of the adoption and diffusion of energy efficient technologies. However, there has to be a reduction in the emissions from building materials. And that's why we have to think about the incorporation of bio-based materials, which are environmentally friendly. There's so many of them, but we also have the agricultural waste, the agricultural byproducts like cassava peels, rice husk, and sugarcane waste. And what will this bio-based agricultural waste do? They'll reduce waste that are dumped on landfills. And when that happens, we'll have this circular economy thing, because particularly when this process is done intentionally and system-based materials will lower carbon footprints, which will mitigate climate change. And most importantly, it will increase the livelihood opportunities for the indigenous people, entrepreneurs, and other stakeholders in the value-based, in the value chain. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, speaking to us later in the session will be Dr. Wolfram Smith, and he's head of the Rheology Lab at BAM. He's also the German Rheological Society Secretary. He will be speaking to us from his depth of experience in innovative cement and concrete constituents. When he comes up, he will speak specifically on circular economic potentials in urban construction with bio-based concrete constituents. Next slide. Industrialized housing construction can provide cheaper, safer, environmentally friendly homes at a faster rate, thereby tackling the global housing inadequacy. However, the vicious circle of urbanization will likely continue as long as the necessary physical, social, and economic infrastructure is lacking in the rural areas. Next slide. And to give us a better understanding of the nexus between urban growth and rural development will be Nonkululeko Radebe, a PhD student from KIT Germany. She's also the Rilem Youth Council representative for Sub-Saharan Africa. Her research is focused on the early age hydration kinetics and mechanical behavior of fresh cement paste. Today, she will speak to us on the importance of balancing urban growth and rural development. Summarily, sustainable housing and infrastructure provision necessitated by urbanization will require innovative approaches such as the use of industrialized building construction, the incorporation of bio-based building materials, and more importantly, a balance in the growth and development agenda for both urban and rural centers. So right now, we'll quickly call up our